software engineering program, and welcome to this info session on a busy Friday evening. Hope I'm audible to everyone and you all can see me clearly. Please do drop in a comment for our teams, and we'll just refer you the correct link in case you are unable to hear us. Cool. So quick roundup as to what we are going to talk about in this session. So primarily we'll be starting off with as to what are the current industry trends that we are seeing right now in the IT and the tech industry, and what sort of skills are now being demanded for people who wish to excel in the IT and the tech space, and what sort of developer, what sort of software engineers are the big companies out there looking for. Then we get to the part how these skills are addressed by this cutting edge PG program brought to you by UpGrad and IIIT-B. And obviously we'll be open for questions throughout the this info session, so please feel free to come in and share any doubts you may have, and I shall be happy to answer them. So I have a presentation here that I would like to share with the team. Cool. I hope everyone can see the slide now. So starting off, a quick word on UpGrad. UpGrad is an online higher education platform which essentially prepares you for careers of tomorrow. So essentially all the courses that we have, including this one in software engineering, it's being made with a view to the future as to how we can help our learners to excel in the years to come. Because courtesy the recent technological advancements, the industry space is changing by leaps and bounds almost day in and day out, and it's essential for people to have a core skill set and an advanced skill set in order to excel in the future. So starting off, what are the industry trends which are happening in the IT and the tech industry? And here, just to break in a lighter moment as well, I would like to invoke a Game of Thrones meme, which essentially says that brace yourselves, winter is coming. So you may be reading all sorts of news in newspapers around nowadays. So you would be reading news like that top IT firms are supposed to lay off people this year, how automation is going to impact jobs in the coming year, how IT workers are prepared for IT companies not growing too much in the coming years, and more on layoffs. However, there is always two sides to a story, and not all is doom and gloom though. If you see closely, there are a lot of news which is garnering by the side, which can be of massive interest to people, and which is essentially meaning millions new jobs being created. So if you see, even the Indian government has come up with a software policy wherein they are focused on creating 10,000 new tech startups. As a quick reference, India is the third biggest startup market in the world, closely behind UK and US. IT industry, the IT and the tech industry is supposed to touch $350 billion in revenue by 2025. This is almost a 2x jump from where it sits currently. And how is this growth going to be driven is what I'm going to get into in the coming info session. Going forward, IT companies didn't lose jobs but added a few. So essentially, you can see how contradictory the news are, and how software product industry is growing out to be a $100 billion industry. So like this is the number $100 billion is alone much bigger than a company like Uber. So you can see we are almost adding a company with the size of an Uber every year in our country. And government has unveiled the new software policy, which essentially means 3.5 million new jobs by 2025. So before starting off on this slide, we would like to know what are the reasons that we are seeing this change. Why is one side of the PR saying that IT companies are maybe losing out jobs in the future, while on the other side they are saying that the growth prospects of such companies are massive? So the biggest reason that is coming out to be so far is the rise of digital products and services. Very quickly, if you just see in your day-to-day life in the last 5 to 10 years, you would have seen what a massive impact technology has had. Case in point, let's go to our day-to-day economy. Earlier, we used to have ATM cards and notes for almost any economic transaction. Today, almost major part of the economy is driven by mobile wallets. Even Indian government, in order to address this, has come up with the Beam API. If you see even something as basic as banking, which used to be only meaningful for offline branches, now involves a massive amount of internet banking. Where is all this digital products coming from? It is essentially being created by software developers across these industries. As a quick reference, digital technology is right now attributing to 5% of total revenue in last fiscal year. This is supposed to grow to 38% in 2025. So you can see within the span of the next 8 years how much the numbers are going to change. So essentially all the additional growth that we are going to see in the tech industry is going to be run by these digital products and services. A quick reference on the Indian market is that it is supposed to grow by 2.5x to $350 billion and account for over 25% of the global market. Clearly, you can see how India is going to be at the forefront of this technological growth, and hence the need for this program. Coming on to the second biggest change which has happened is the rise of automation. What do we mean by automation? Automation essentially means that all the man tasks we had for software, because IT companies, the huge IT companies out there like the Wipros and the Infosys and the TCS of the world, they specialized in offering services to clients, be it abroad, be it domestically, services which essentially needed a massive amount of workforce. Services like database administration, services like software testing, services like ERP implementation. Now, gradually with the growth of technology, these tasks are being made increasingly redundant for human workforce by creating new programs which do this on their own. So essentially you don't need to have a set of 100 people looking after this. You can very easily have 2 people churning out code which does this work. This is supposed to eliminate almost 20 to 30% of the lower level IT jobs, which amounts to almost 7 lakh jobs. Going forward, US being one of the biggest importer of Indian IT services, there is a massive wave of stricter norms going across the country. If you see, I need not lay emphasis on how Donald Trump is increasingly closing the doors for the US economy and forcing the local players to look for talent within the country rather than out of it. So increasing emphasis by the US government to curb the outsourcing of jobs. So major IT companies, your Infosys, your Wipro, your TCS, they are opening up offices in US so as to hire the local talent from US to keep their US business going. Because sadly, not a lot of that business can now come to India easily. Going forward, another massive impact which has had on the IT and the tech space is the rise of open source development. Very quickly, what is open source development? Essentially, earlier softwares used to be made by licensed companies who used to give it out for a high price of a license. But nowadays, with the rise of technology, we are seeing largely open source development. So essentially, any software developer can go ahead and create a functionality for it, and it shall be publicly available for consumption. This has helped really catalyze the growth of technology in our day-to-day life. So by 2020, as per industrial estimates, almost 90% of the applications will be running on open source database. As a quick reference, the number was almost reversed 10 years back, with almost 90% of applications running on custom software. Secondly, we are seeing a rapidly decreasing revenue stream for the IT companies. The reason being that IT companies used to specialize in offering these custom software services to their clients. However, with the open source community rising now, these clients are now more and more using these open source services rather than relying on an IT company to do that change. Please do feel free to stop me in case there are any questions you have. Moving on. So what are the companies focusing on essentially now? So companies want employees because, as I said, a large number of jobs are going to be made redundant, but there are also millions of jobs being created in parallel. So more than a shift in job, this is a repositioning of job which is happening in the country. And how will this reskilling come about is when the companies are training the employees or the employees themselves are learning it. There has been a massive trend amongst IT and the tech employees to more and more learn these new skills in order to stay relevant in the system. Here, I have given the example of 2 major players in our Indian IT space, which are linked focusing on reskilling, which are Saurabh Govil, who's the president of Wipro, and CP Gurnani, who's the CEO of Tech Mahindra. These are the two largest IT players in the country, and you can see how they are essentially asking the audience to focus on reskilling, and rather than reskilling, it's also called upskilling. So essentially taking your skills to a new and a better level. So what is the kind of talent the industry is looking for? When we are saying that, okay, the entire industry is changing focus from services now to creating more and more digital products, to creating them in-house, what sort of talent are they looking for? So here we did UpGrad and IIIT-B indulged in a massive industry research in order to know what sort of program would be relevant for our learners, which would help them excel in the career going forward. So here we have a few excerpts from these interviews that we have. So very quickly going through one of them, you can see that a large proportion of developers, even with high experience, do not have strong fundamentals. So the importance of strong fundamentals is that you need that to absorb the new changes which are coming on about. Learnability essentially is the new soul of any programmer of any job nowadays, because you need to learn new skills in order to stay relevant. Going forward, you would see how companies are more and more looking for people with cross specialization. So even if a person has a has expertise in creating front end, and very quickly, front end of a software is the part that an audience reacts with, the part that we see. So even if a person specializes in creating great user interfaces, they must have knowledge of the middleware and the backend so that their work can become a whole lot more relevant. Because as I said, with this new digital boom, it's very essential for companies to churn out new software, to churn new deliverables within a very short time frame. So they would prefer having people who have visibility across the entire cycle, who would have knowledge of the entire cycle, to be on their team so that they can push their deliverables faster, rather than working in separate blocks or separate silos altogether with little visibility. From a recruiting perspective, if you see a senior hiring executive of a leading IT company says that from recruiting perspective, more and more companies are going for a full stack developer role. Very quickly, what is a full stack developer? As the name suggests, it means having full expertise, the full expertise of software development. So the aspects of software development are your front end, which is the part that the audience sees and reacts with, and the back end, which allows you to have the databases in place, allows you to have the system in place, and how it would store data and run about the data management. So a person needs to have knowledge of both these fronts in order to be more relevant for the company. And the biggest gap that we are referring to here is the change in mindset. As I was telling you, the entire industry right now is in a state of a pivot, with more and more focus being on how the software companies are going to deliver on new products. It needs to result in a change at an employee level. So people need to be more tech oriented. They need to understand how this product, how this software is going to change, how the audience is going to react with this, and what sort of changes can they bake in their software similarly. So you need people who can think like a consumer. Because let's imagine a Flipkart designer, if he understands how a typical audience would behave with the mobile app, let's say, then they would configure it in the best way possible, rather than just thinking of putting the system in place. So what are the job prospects that are available for software engineers out there? So there are largely three bunches of company that we see right now in the industry, and I shall take you one by one through each of these segments. Starting off, the biggest one that we have are the digital division of IT firms. So IT firms, when I say IT firms, I'm referring to companies like your Infosys, your Wipro, and the TCS. They are more and more creating new digital divisions. So these digital divisions are essentially specialized in-house divisions which have expertise to create digital products. How this helps the IT companies is that they can go to the current clients and offer that, sir, instead of just handling your IT services, why not I help you with IT products? You can also see how the entire industry is changing the ask from these IT companies to just helping them with services to now asking for assistance in digital transformation. So digital transformation, very quickly, my friends, is essentially the process by which companies are undergoing a change. How digital is changing the way companies operate, let alone on a consumer level, even internal operations of a company are being drastically changed by this digital. A quick example being, let's imagine a traditional outdoor retail firm. Let's say I'm an outdoor retail firm, let's say like a Vijay Sales, which sells consumer electronics, and all of a sudden they are facing competition from Amazons and Flipkarts who are now selling the same stuff online. So Vijay Sales needs to react by creating a website, by creating an app which allows the consumers to do the same interaction there as well. They would need to adjust the company structure, the company reporting in order to address to this changing consumer demand. And this is how these digital divisions of IT firms drive value to their clients. So very quickly, if you see the revenue from these divisions, is going to increase by a massive amount of 100 billion in the next 10 years. As a quick reference, I was quickly trying to translate this into corresponding monies. This means almost lakhs of crores of money in the next 10 years. And this is a 30x increase from current figures. And this data has been captured by a renowned agency NASSCOM, which is essentially the governing body of all the IT firms in the country. So they have partnered with McKinsey to get the trends of these digital divisions because they are the next big push for the major companies. Coming on to the next set of companies are our good old startups. So you must have heard startup as being one of the biggest buzzwords in the last 5-6 years. So startups are spawning left, right, and center. As I said earlier, India right now currently houses almost 4,200 startups, which puts it at third in the country. But the number of new startups opening in the country, very soon we shall be number 2 on the global list. So what are these startups? How do we define a tech startup? So a tech startup is essentially a technology product or platform which is used to engage customers, be it a business or an end consumer like myself and yourself. So a quick example, and I understand these companies need no prior introduction, are your companies like Ola, Uber, Paytm, Flipkart, Make My Trip, you can Pepperfry, Urban Ladder. So all these companies are the startups which has come in the last 6-7 years. So India currently has 4,800 startups under this division, which makes it the third highest. And as we read earlier, Indian government is forecasting a rise to this number by almost 10,000 in the next 3 years. Moving on to the next one are the GICs. The full form for GICs are the Global In-House Centers. What does a Global In-House Center mean? They're essentially offshore subsidiaries for large multinational corporations to handle their own businesses or research and development work or even digital transformation, as I said earlier. So the major companies which are having offices in India for the same purpose are the big wigs like IBM, Cisco, Dell, AMX, MasterCard. So all these have Indian offices, and we are seeing this number increase every month, who are opening up offices in Bangalore, in Delhi, NCR, Mumbai, Pune, in order to tap into the local skilled talent. So the current number of employees which are engaged in this are already almost 8 lakh. So this is one of the biggest private employers in the country at the moment. And this number is supposed to grow by 15% CAGR. Very quickly, CAGR is annual growth rate year on year. So essentially, we'll see this number increase by 15% year on year. And what does this mean? Essentially, for a upcoming software engineers is almost 5 to 7 lakh new jobs by 2020. So this is a massive number which we are going to see the industry churning out in the next 3 years. Any questions, any doubts that anyone may have at the moment, please do let me know. Moving on. So moving on to about the program. So we have created this rigorous industry relevant program in order to help our learners become a full stack developer. As I said earlier, a full stack developer is a person who's proficient in front end, back end, and mobile app development for a software. And this is how, as we read, is what essentially the industry needs right now in their software engineering divisions. So this is the gap area that the industry is facing, and this is how our program will help you prepare to make that next move. So very quickly, who all is this program useful for? So it's primarily meant for people with the work ex of 0 to 3 years right now in the IT and the technology space. So these people are who have just entered the industry, this program would be helpful for them to know, to essentially change their career trajectory and become a full stack developer, because these are the skill sets that their companies are essentially aspiring for in the coming time. Then we come to the senior IT and technology professionals. So these are people with more than 3 years of experience in the industry, because for them, the kind of industry they have seen in the past 4-5 years is going to change a lot in the coming 1 or 2 years. So it's important for them to stay in trend of all the latest skills that are coming up. And this program will help them learn those skills and apply those skills in order to grow in their roles. And then we come to the next segment of our learners, which are essentially students who have just freshly graduated from college and are looking out for jobs, and people who are in the last year of college engineering. Why I refer to the last year is essentially because this being a PG program, a person who has done their undergraduates would be eligible to do this program and grow in their career. So this set of audience is going to enter the industry, and it would be great for them to enter in as a software developer, complete with all the skills that we should be teaching through this program in order to apply those in the companies and then have a exponential growth in the coming years. And fourthly, it's also interesting for all those people who may be working right now in a non-IT related or in a non-tech related firm or in a non-tech related role, but are looking to become a software engineers, because software engineers career trajectory, career CTCs are right now amongst the best in the country. So coming to the program requirements, what we need from our learners are a minimum to have a 3-year undergraduate degree. So what comprises of these degrees are essentially your BA, your BTech, your BE, your BSc. We just need a minimum 3-year undergraduate degree. The next part is that you should have scored a minimum of 50% marks in either your undergraduation or post-graduation. So the selection process for candidates is fairly simple. You just need to come onto the UpGrad website, fill in the application form which captures the key details about your profile, and post a careful valuation by our admissions team. You shall be hearing on the next steps basis your profile, and you may be required to give an admission test in order to get in through the program. Coming on to the duration of the program and the program details, it is an 11-month program. It is a part-time online program. What do you mean by part-time online program? Essentially, there are no dedicated classrooms which would be operating during this period. So all the content that you wish to access to is available online. So you can very easily just come onto the website and log in with your details and see all the content that is being taught there. The kind of commitment that we need from learners in order to absorb this content, in order to learn this content and apply, is almost 8 to 10 hours every week. So these are average figures that we are seeing, that if a person needs to understand this content well and apply it well, they would need to put in this much time commitment to succeed. And you need to understand, in terms of your own career growth and career development, this is a minor investment in the long run. So how is this 8 to 10 hour divided for a student? We would have almost 1 to 2 hours of video lectures given by our leading faculty from IIIT Bangalore, wherein we would have them addressing the core concepts of computer science. And we would also have lectures from industry experts who would be giving a lot of industrial perspective to whatever you are learning, so that you may know how it is applied in day-to-day workings of the top tech companies. Then we suggest a 1-hour self-study to the person in order to understand the content and revise as to what they learned through these lectures. And then comes the best part of this program, which is almost 4 to 6 hours of hands-on practice. So we understand that programming is essentially a skill which will come with due practice in the coming time. And this is how the content has been created and designed for this duration, in order to give you maximum practice on latest software tools, so that once you enter into the industry as a software engineer, you already have your bases covered and are ready to shoot from day one. We also have additional 1-hour sessions with our faculty members, with our teaching experts, who can help address any doubts you may have during the program. So it goes on through an enriching learning experience throughout the program, wherein the help is just a click away and we are very prompt in our response. The program is primarily divided into 2 blocks. The first block is the 9 to 10 months of learning and hands-on programming. So this is the time wherein you get the lectures, you get practice assignments, you get assignments that you are graded on, because please note, this is a postgraduate diploma program which is going to be assessed, and you shall be given a grade pointer towards the end of the program to know where you stood amongst the class. And lastly, we would have 6 weeks of a capstone project. What is a capstone project essentially? Just imagine it like a degree and project that you had during your undergraduate days. So similarly here, we would have a project wherein you would be working in teams of 3 or 4 to create a fully independent software product. And these projects would be brought to you by close collaboration with the industry between UpGrad and IIIT-B to have you the best relevant experience possible. How would the content be delivered? The content is delivered primarily through an audio-visual recorded content. So there would be pre-recorded content which you would go onto the UpGrad learning platform and access. We would have live lectures from industry experts from time to time to enrich your experience, to give you more relevance of industry and to what sort of roles are out there. How is the software engineering industry changing? Because as you have seen, 11-month duration is also an opportunity for the industry to change. So we'll keep you updated on all the latest trends. Other than that, we would have projects which students can work on, and students can interact amongst each other through a very innovative forum that we have designed. We would have offline platforms as well for students to interact and learn from each other. Coming on to the fees part, the fees of this program is 2,25,000 for the 11-month program. And if you see, we would have a multitude of payment options which can help you pay this fees and help you make the next big move in your career. Please do stop me and let me know if I can address your doubts at any given time. Cool. Moving on to the next part, we get on to the program course structure. So how have we structured the course for this entire program? So the first course that we have, we start from the real basics of the program, is object-oriented programming. A quick word on object-oriented programming. It is one of the world's most popular programming method. So it is widely used by C, Java. So this would help you set up the basics right before you launch onto the advanced content in this program. This is essential for building a strong foundation in programming, which, as we said, is tested by the top tier tech companies in their tech interviews. So if you want to crack a software engineering job, this is one of the key skills that you would be interviewed on, which you would be tested on as to how strong are your fundamentals, because this is what will decide how far you grow and how quickly you develop in your role. Very quickly, referring to the topics we have during this object-oriented program courses, the classes and the objects, the inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and encapsulation. Moving on to the next part, we come on to the algorithms. So what are algorithms? Very quickly, it is essentially a method by which you design a program. So algorithm is basically the, what should I say, it's a functional unit of a program which decides how the program would be structured and it would be running. It would help you design great programs which would help you create programs which will set you apart from competition, because a hallmark of a great program is its performance, how fast it is, how much space is it taking. Because last thing you want is, let's say for an example, you have a great mobile app which addresses all your needs, but that mobile app is worth 1 GB. Would you be okay installing it in your mobile? You may think twice. So it's very important for any latest software product to be easy on memory space, but to be quick on the time space. So algorithms course would help you assess the performance of your programs in the best possible way. We shall be teaching you the latest concepts like greedy algorithms, dynamic programming, recursion, and you would be learning this directly from the top IIIT-B professors. The next course we have are the data structures course. Herein, data structures, as the name suggests, decides how you would structure your data to be used in programs. Data structures essentially define what would be the basic backbone of your program and how the components would be interacting with each other. So a right data structure helps you improve the performance, and as we learned how software performance is critical to its growth and usage in the coming times. So the basic topics that would be touched upon here are the arrays, the stacks, queues, binary trees, search trees, hash tables. So these courses 1, 2, and 3 are essentially meant to establish a great foundation for you in programming so that you can grow and develop these skills in order to learn the coming courses which we have in the program. So the next course that we have are the software engineering frameworks and server-side development. What are these frameworks essentially that we are talking about? So the frameworks are essentially, as software development is taking place nowadays, new websites are coming out in the space of a week. There are certain frameworks which are there to work. One of the biggest frameworks that we have right now for working are the agile development framework. So what does agile framework means? Very quickly, I would like to describe agile development. Agile is the new way that the IT and the tech companies are working in order to deliver great software projects in a short span of a time. Agile development means people of different functionalities with cross. Got it. Can everyone still see me? Cool. So what this would mean is essentially that agile development, which is essentially the backbone of any tech company which is working nowadays to create cutting edge products, has to work on the agile stream. And this is what we would be teaching you through this program. We are just facing a minor difficulty. You would just need to give me a minute. Cool, we are back. Sorry for the problem. I hope you all can see me and hear me clearly now. So moving on to the next course, next part of the course, sorry. So I was telling you about agile development and how it's helped in the coming times with the top tech companies. And these are the sort of skills and the working style that we would be teaching you through this program, so that once you join a top tier tech company, you are ready to start working from day one. Coming on to the server side, we would be teaching you how to build great backend architecture. So because for any great product, let it be a software product or even an offline product like a building, you needed to have a great foundation, a great base to set that up. So through server-side development, we would be teaching you what sort of backend architectures are best to use for your programs and which ones should you use in the coming time. So we would be referring to one of the most popular backend structures that we have is the MVC web applications. So through this course, we would be teaching you a lot more about MVC, which is essentially model view control. Coming on to the next course, we would have a course on distributed and scalable server architecture. What does this mean essentially? As software products are nowadays largely being used by thousands and millions of people out there, it is very important for them to be performing at a high level. And one of the biggest levers that a software programmer has to make these software works are the APIs. So APIs, the full form, my friends, is application programming interfaces. So through this course, we are teaching you how to leverage APIs in order to enable speedy interaction between your program components, because it's essential, because if your programs one component is interacting very quickly with other, it would help you saving on processing time and help you serve thousands of customers in a single go. This is how large companies like Facebook, your Google, your Netflix are enabling speedy interaction. So next time you open a Google and get your search query result in less than a microsecond, you know whom to thank for. Moving on to the next part, which is essentially scalable servers. So why use the term scalable servers? Nowadays, as I said, more and more due to the advent of digital products, it is very important to create software in a way that you can easily. So right now, today, it may be accessible to thousands of people, but we need to create a backend which allows us to grow users to almost millions. So it's very important for you to scale your server in order to design your system in a way which allows you to straight away scale it up to millions of people in a go. So this is how we'll tell you the organization of your backend. So quickly, the topics on this course are, we will teach you how to use RESTful APIs. So RESTful APIs is one of the latest trends that we are seeing in APIs, which are being used by the top companies in the world right now. And you would be working on the Java Spring framework in order to create these APIs. Secondly, we would be telling you the best practices which are currently there in the industry to create a high performance server. Again and again, you may see a recurring theme of how it's important to create better performing products for your company and your clients in the coming years. Moving on to the next course, it would be on software design and front-end development. As the name suggests, software design will essentially tell us how to put in the different components of your software at correct positions in order to enable better interaction between them. And moving on to the front-end development part, as I've said, front-end is essentially the customer-facing part of a software product. And through this course, we would be telling you how to build great engaging user interfaces. So if you see any popular service, any popular software product that you use nowadays, you may like the way it looks. Facebook, for example, has one of the best user interfaces in the industry, which explains the reason how it's grown to be popular amongst a billion people. So through this course, we would be telling you about user experience design, how to think about how a consumer would interact with the front end, and how to create these front ends later on using skills like using languages like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'm pretty sure HTML and CSS need no prior introduction. These are the biggest drivers of web development in the last 15-20 years almost, and now combining that skill with JavaScript would allow you to create engaging user interfaces. The next course that we have is the advanced front-end development. So we already have the basics in place in the previous course. Through this course, we would be teaching you on how to work on JavaScript frameworks. So one of the most popular JavaScript frameworks right now in the world is React.js. So through this program, you would be directly working on the React.js framework. You would also be getting an introduction to DevOps. So a very quick word on DevOps. DevOps, as the name suggests, combines the two terms development and operation. So a software engineer's job just doesn't end at creating a new software. It is crucial for them to deploy that, to test that before showing it off to consumers. So through DevOps, you would learn how as a software engineer, you yourself can create frameworks to test your product and to deploy it on live web applications. So very quickly, what sort of topics we would be teaching through this courses are JavaScript ES6, which is essentially the latest version in JavaScript. As I said, JavaScript is one of the most popular languages we have for creating user interfaces, for creating front ends. Then we would be working on the React framework, and we would be learning what all are the latest techniques that are out there to test your software. Why software testing is essentially crucial is because you do not want your software program to be riddled with any bugs once it goes live. It is essential, therefore, for you to test this your software before taking it live. So there are massive teams of engineers in companies which are focused solely on testing the quality of the software product, because it's very important to test this in-house before bringing it out to consumers. Then we come to the second last course of the program, which is essentially on mobile app development. Mobile, as you guys know, has boomed like crazy in the last 5 years. India alone has almost 350 million users right now who are using internet on their mobile, and the number is going to grow by crazy in the coming years. And we can all thank our friends at Jio, at Airtel, at Vodafone, who are helping this number to grow year on year by almost 10 to 100 million. So what does it mean for businesses and tech companies in the coming time? That an increasing focus is going to come on creating products which are easy to use on your mobile. So the interaction on your desktop versus a mobile is drastically different. And same is the case here with the technology being put to use. So mobile app development essentially leverages a separate set of technologies, case in point being React Native. So React Native, as the name suggests, has come out from the React library itself, and it is a specific library created by engineers from Facebook, which has then grown on to be used across the world to create great front-end development for mobile. So essentially, earlier mobile development used to either happen through Android, which is essentially useful for Android users, or through a separate iOS framework. But now using React Native, you can create mobile apps which are accessible both on an Android device or an iOS device. And for this, as I said, because mobile apps are being used by almost millions of people all across, we would be teaching you how to handle the external API integration. A very quick revision: API is application programming interface, which is essentially the different components of a software. So APIs, it is all the more crucial in a mobile app because the kind of users, the number of users that are using at a given time, it is essential to learn how to leverage these APIs correctly. And the last part of the program, as discussed earlier, is your capstone project. So capstone project, as we said, is essentially a project created by close collaboration with IIIT-B, UpGrad, and the industry experts. And we would bring to you these industry relevant program to work on, to give you a taste of medicine of how it is to work in the top companies. As said earlier, this course is specifically designed to take your professional career ahead. And through this capstone project, we wish to give you a sort of a pilot as to a window as to how a software programmer works in the tech companies as a software engineer. So this project will be designed by leading industry experts in order to give you the maximum industry relevance for this program. So why this program? So we have been discussing of how the whole digital space is evolving, what sort of skills we'll be teaching you through this program to enable you to bridge that digital gap. So this program, once again, I repeat, has been designed with extensive feedback from the industry. So largely what we saw was that academic programs concentrated primarily only on the academic concepts and little on the application of them in the day-to-day life in your professional stream. So we partnered with IIIT-B in this regard in order to bring you best of both the worlds. So this program would allow you to get a prestigious postgraduate diploma from IIIT Bangalore. So IIIT Bangalore has been consistently ranked amongst the top tier tech colleges in the country for postgraduate education. Secondly, we are laying an increasing emphasis on hands-on programming. What do we mean by hands-on programming? Essentially, whatever you learn through the lectures, you would get to practice them through the frameworks in our learning platform, wherein you would be working on the latest tools, as we said earlier, on Java frameworks, on React framework, on React Native, on HTML, on CSS, and we would be providing an environment to program this directly. And what this translates to roughly is almost 200 plus hours is dedicated to this programming assignments and programming practice. This would enable you to come to the market with market ready skills and straight away start applying them from day one. As a quick ratio between the theory and the practical aspects of this course, the ratio is almost 1:4. Coming on to the third biggest USP for this program is that you would get to work on the latest software tools and development. So as I said earlier, the latest development tools would be React, your Java frameworks like Java Spring, HTML, CSS, and the latest development practices like Agile methodology, as I described earlier. So through this program, you would be getting access to the latest content in the industry. Coming on to the next part, this course would be taught to you by the leading faculty of IIIT Bangalore and UpGrad's panel of industry leaders. As I said, we would be bringing together the best of both the world of academics and industry in order to enable a comprehensive learning experience for you. Moving on to the next part, there is an added focus on this program to build up a strong base. As you would have seen, almost 30% of the course is dedicated to object-oriented programming, data structures, and algorithms in order to enable you to build a strong base that even if the technologies you are working on goes outdated, you have a strong base to absorb the new technologies going on around and work your best on that. Additionally, we would be having exhaustive academic support in form of faculties, industry lecturers, teaching assistant, and obviously you would have your peers through the program to guide you through. Moving on to the best part of the program, essentially, we have extensive career support. As we said, it is a professional program designed specifically to enable you to make the jump from your current base to being excelling in the industry. So we have a dedicated career support team which helps you identify which is the best profile for you to go after in the industry, and then help you reach that destination through careful mentoring with industry experts, through one-on-one counseling sessions with you, through Industry Connect. So essentially, we bring to you the top tech companies who may be interested in looking for a profile like yours. So a quick example, let's say you are a backend developer who has developed this specialty through our program. Our career support team would help you get in touch with probable companies who are looking for such a role in the coming months. And how we help you prepare for these interviews is through a careful mix of CV preparation and mock interviews with our industry experts. Additionally, being a course focused on software engineering, we also help you design your product portfolio. What does it mean is essentially that software engineers nowadays need to have a ready-made library that they can show to anyone to show what sort of work they have worked on. This is extensively helpful for companies to know what sort of technologies you have worked on, what knowledge, prior knowledge you have, and they can straight away see if you are a fit for the job or not. Additionally, we have a free preparatory session before the program. So this is a quick 2 to 3 week program we have before the program starts and accessible afterwards as well, which essentially just help you brush up the very basic concepts in programming, in the world of programming. So you may not know what is a class, what is an object, what is a Java function. So through this preparatory session, if you have little to no programming knowledge, this would help you come up to date with those streams. So when the real program kicks in, you already have your fundamentals in place in order to build further on that. So that is it from my side. I would love to hear any doubts, any questions that I can address right now. Would we have any questions from the audience? Happy to take those now. Is there any part which was unclear to you? If I can touch back on specific sections of the info sessions which can help you get added knowledge, added background on what we are driving towards here. Just as a quick refresher, I myself am a computer science graduate from IIT Delhi, and trust me, these are the sort of technologies that the entire tech industry is right now driving towards. And it would be mighty helpful for all of you out there to try and learn these skills as soon as possible to potentially drive career-changing impact out there. I think we do not have any questions, and maybe I was very clear with my statement of the problems that the industry is facing and the sort of value that this program can drive to you. We would just wait for the last 2 minutes to know if any questions can be taken, and then we can close down this session. But do let us know. We are available, reachable with our email IDs being admissions-pgdse@iitb.ac.in. You can reach us through our UpGrad program page, which is upgrad.com/software-engineering. So you can reach us on those programs for added details and get in touch for us in case we could help you with any additional details at all. Cool, guys. I think it was pretty clear to the audience out there. And please do let us know if you have any questions, any help that we can. Our team of experts would be happy to address your concerns, if any, rising from this. Thank you so much for your time today. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.